Hello, and welcome to episode 203 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined by Matthew Figueira.
By me and special guest behind you, who will not be contributing. I can also do this. Look at this. I'm just working hard on a Saturday. You hate to see it.
Super hard. Super. And we share an office, so it is what it is.
All your listeners, Sean is behind Alessandro.
Just chilling.
Like, what is this big reveal? I can't see it.
Yeah, third member of the cast, finally, 203 episodes in. Too bad Lupin never made the cut. He was close, though.
Checkpoint Cats.
Lenska didn't want to be involved.
No.
That's the right decision, I think.
I think I've mentioned this a few times before, but I've said to her, like, hey, you've played this game. You're very welcome to come talk about it if you want. She's like, nah.
Yeah. Nah. I think we've had this discussion. She's like, I don't know how you guys talk so easily and freely. It's like, we just kind of do.
I don't know. We just play. But it's funny because we actually had this conversation this week. I don't know how we got to it, but it was essentially the thing of when I play a game, things are so obvious to me. And when she plays a game, it's less obvious. Like I was telling her, when I watch her play a game, it's very obvious to me that they're saying you should go, not explicitly telling you, but it's saying like, you should go this way. And she's like, like which way should I go? And then when I pointed out, she's like, how did you know? I'm like, I've just played enough games that I can see, or I just know.
It's an actual concept that we learnt about when I was studying game design called player affordances. Like, you design a game with a certain subset, with an idea in mind of knowledge that players just have. Like nowadays, you could like dilute that down to like players generally know how a third-person camera works.
Yeah,
like you can still tell them in the game, but you are designing the game around them being able to move forward and the camera independently of one another. That's like an affordance. And again, like you say, when Shani played Breath of the Wild, that was the thing she struggled with. It was like, how are you controlling these two things at once? It's very like confusing. And I'm like, the game like kind of doesn't work if you don't.
Yeah,
like if you can't, like it's very difficult. So
yeah, it is funny though how it's so normal. Like I remember the original PS1 never had thumbsticks, and we played.
Oh yeah, the very first one. It only came out later.
We had the OG PS, the OG controller, just the D-pad.
Non-DualShock.
I think we borrowed a copy of, what is there was one game, it was like the first game to take advantage of it. It's like Monkey Super something.
Oh no, it was Ape Escape.
That's it, Ape Escape. Yeah. I tried playing that and I was like, this game does not work. I can't see where I'm going. And obviously as a kid, I had no idea that there was a different version of the controller that would let you move the camera. So
I thought Ape Escape only worked with the DualShock.
No, like so you can launch the game and you can get into it and you can start playing it. But I was baffled. It's like, this game's broken.
It's literally like a broken game because you're using a different controller. That is crazy.
Super baffling to young me going, why? I can only look forward. My guy's only taking this way. This is a garbage game. Until many years later, I was like, oh.
I mean, I was the same because I played a lot of Crash Bandicoot on PlayStation 1. Crash Team Racing, Crash Bandicoot. And when, things started transitioning over to thumbstick, I'm like, this is so inaccurate. This is I can't play like this. And like for a long time, games supported both. They were like, cool, you can do whichever. But eventually they started moving over being like, no, the D-pad on our other buttons, they're not movement buttons. And that was like, I can't play video games anymore. Like,
fighting games and even platformers. I was like, it just doesn't. I mean, Celeste is one that I bounce between the D-pad and the thumbsticks because
that is a D-pad game through and through. I do not know how anyone plays that without a D-pad because you need such accurate cardinal. You need like a diagonal, and on a thumbstick, that's just not like. You'll think you're doing diagonal, and then Celeste will just be like, Madeline will just be like,
all she goes backwards, like that.
Great, you're like, this is awesome. What was I doing?
My bad. Yeah, but it's amazing how. Sorry, no, go for it.
No. I think the other inflection point for this sort of stuff was when games moved to like first-person cameras for shooting.
Oh, yes.
Because they used to be very different. They used to be like you went forward and turned around on the same stick.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember which game was the first to introduce the idea of like looking on the right stick. And I remember like there was a tweet a while back where someone like linked to a review of that game at the time. And the review just like lambasted like the control scheme. Like, this is such a weird control scheme. It's never going to catch on.
Oh my God.
And, like, that's how all shooters work now. But I remember that because I played a game on the original Xbox called James Bond Nightfire. It was they were making so many James Bonds then. I think it was like after GoldenEye because it had a really big multiplayer component and was really fun. And the default control scheme there was that weird shooting one. And I remember always having to change it to go back to where I turned with my left stick because I was like, I can't play like this. This is like absolute dog shit to try and play like this.
We're digging into childhood trauma / revelations here. Because, so did you ever play Medal of Honor on PlayStation 1? Because that was the same thing of...
Very briefly,
I think you strafed with like the shoulder buttons.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So, yeah, you turn left and right and move forward and back with the D-pad.
Oh, my God.
And then, but not only that, aiming, you'd have to hold the button to bring up, or not to bring up the cross, I think it was always there, but you had to push a button to then, have the freedom to aim your controller.
Yeah, because then you were stationary and you were just aiming I remember.
So that felt weird, making the transition from that. But what is the opposite of that? Learning how to play a first-person shooter with a keyboard and mouse, like adding a mouse to the equation. Because initially, I played first-person shooters just keyboard, and it was just moving up, down. Yeah, exactly. I'm an old gamer, remember.
I guess Doom functioned like that because there was no vertical axis.
But playing with the mouse wasn't always the obvious thing. Until one day I played Quake 1 using the mouse and I was like, oh my God.
It's transformative.
I can look up and down. I can't believe this.
So you were always shooting in one like axis. No, if someone jumped,
you legitimately had to use, I think it was like page up or page down to aim up or down.
Oh, get out of here.
I promise you.
So you were using WASD and then...
Yeah, you had two hands on the
arrow
keyboard.
Keys and then page up and page down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, that sounds
horrible. I'm telling you.
No,
two hands, it was horrible. But that's why I was like, whoa, this mouse. The power I have with this small thing.
I think I learned how to play first-person shooters on PC before I did console. And that's probably why I struggled with like adapting to the controller because like, the earliest shooter I can remember playing is probably CS, and that was always with a mouse.
So, by CS, I mean you needed a mouse,
Yeah. Could you imagine playing that with just a keyboard? Oh Jesus Christ. So yeah, that always felt natural to me because I was like, well, the mouse is where I'm looking. It's like immediately. But I do know that the original Doom never had a Y-axis for shooting, so you just had to look in that direction, and if you shot and there was an enemy above you, you shot at that enemy.
Yeah, but I think that's why when I played Wolfenstein 3D, so when I moved to Quake, I was like...
Yeah, Quake was a very vertical game, yeah.
I'm just going to use my keyboard.
Especially the online. My God, could you imagine playing that?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to think of
young me was not playing online. That is not even a thought of mine.
You're like, can I rack up 1,000 Rand bill on the telephone to play video games online?
I don't even know if we had dial-up at that stage. Good Lord.
Could you imagine the ping on dial-up? Oh my God.
Well, people did it. I don't know how they did, but people did it.
Yeah, people played. I guess that was where LANs came into effect. Like, go to an internet cafe. I mean, that's where I played all my CS. I didn't have a PC. I just went to internet cafes for hours at a time.
Whatever, man. I played...
Literally, me and another guy were playing two-person CS for hours. Like, just 1v1ing each other in, like, rats or whatever, Like, literally running around for 10 minutes, not finding each other, seeing one person, poof, then you, like, run around for 10 minutes again. Yeah. It's real good.
Whatever, man. In my day, we used to have to play at a LAN, and then even again, this is another revelation or evolution. Not every game had bots.
Oh, true that. CS had bots, yeah.
Yeah, but CS was like at a later. You either had to add bots, or I don't know, they didn't always have bots. So
yeah, we always had to ask the admin at the cafe lounge to like add bots. We had no idea how to do it.
No, but I'm talking, I'd go home and not be able to play CS because I had no bots until on a day it's like, oh, you can add bots. Like, whoa, I can play this game by myself. Best day ever.
Which was it? I remember there was also one Counter-Strike that came out early 2000s that like it boasted a campaign, but the campaign was literally just you running through every map playing a game of like disarm or rescue the hostages.
No, there was a CS with with proper story missions, with different environments. It was called.
Was it Zero?
Yeah, it was. It was something like, it was a whole separate version of CS.
Yeah, I think it was.
The weapons sounded
Zero.
so cool. I remember going like, wow, it's the same weapons. They sound different though. It's evolution.
Wow, the bit rates on the South sample is so much higher.
They just sounded different. Sure.
I remember me taking like literal weeks to download that game because we're still at that time, I think we didn't have ADSL, but my mom had a 3G dongle that she got from work. So I was using that to try and download what was actually just like 1 point something gigabytes, but it took days. Like,
you want to talk about what were you downloading? CS?
Counter-Strike. Yeah, it was off Steam. Yeah.
You want to talk?
And I don't think we had local caching at the time, so it was just like super slow.
Yeah, you want to talk about taking forever to download. Imagine waking up one Christmas and unwrapping Half-Life 2 and being so excited to play the sequel to one of the games you loved playing growing up, ready to put it in. It's like, hey man, where's your internet connection? You're like, okay, cool. Ma, I'm going to dial up. Don't answer the phone.
For at least 5 days.
Yeah, I can't remember how long it took, but I got on Christmas and we had people over for Christmas every day. So I just remember running back and forth to my PC going, is it done yet? Is it done yet?
Oh
no, it's not. I think I only got to play it on Boxing Day, but like the evening. Don't know what our bill was. Parents never said, but I'm sure it must have cost some moolah.
A fortune. Yeah, they were like, wow, never buying a PC game for this man ever again.
Good Lord. Look at Steam today. The best
that
thing
was
ever.
Wasn't Half-Life 2 the first game that
I think it was the
Steam?
first, yeah.
Yeah. I remember, well, I don't remember it at the time, but I know now that there was a huge uproar over that requirement. So
the worst. Well, here we are. Modern day gaming. LANs are dead.
LANs are dead, yeah.
Why go to LAN when
people go to LANs and just play the games online, which is real fucking strange. But,
why LAN today when I can just sit comfortably at home and access the entire world or my region? I mean, come on. Yeah, it's a good time.
Let's check one chat to talk about good times of video games and the bad times.
Oh, wow. What a segue.
How to pivot and so we are officially in absolute silly season now with video games. There are just games left, right, and center coming out.
Too many.
So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that we're playing that we can't talk about. Like there's one embargo on Monday, there's another one on Thursday, and I haven't played enough of the game for the one on Monday to talk about it now and delay the episode, so we're just going to do it next week.
Yeah.
So we also can't say what game it is because the social media embargo lifts 2 hours before the review embargo, so that's
makes
stupid.
No sense.
Yeah.
Well,
but
we're gonna talk about the game you played shortly, but that review embargo blows my mind because the embargo was like midday the day the game came out.
Yeah. Yeah, so
makes no sense to me.
I think last week I said I was busy playing Scorn for review.
Don't know if you said you were playing it. I don't know if you could see you playing it, but yes, you were playing.
I was playing Scorn. I got it quite a while ago, and like, oh god, the video is just stuttering like hell.
Stuttering?
Yeah. Maybe play it through VLC or something.
Good Lord. Apologies.
So I got the game quite a while ago. I put in a draft this Monday I thought the embargo was like the next day. Turns out it was halfway through release day, which should tell you a lot about what you need to know about Scorn.
Wow.
This game is it's like an adventure puzzle game that is set in a world that is heavily inspired by the likes of H.R. Geiger. So if you've ever watched Alien or Prometheus, these sort of like biomechanical, fleshy grossness that those movies have just ratcheted up to like 100, because that is mostly what Scorn is. It's like every mechanism in there is like metal fused into
Flesh
like
or something.
organic matter. Yeah. Machines like work off the like blood and flesh of other beings, and like it's weird. Like if you're watching the video, you see like the switch is activated by you putting your fingers in this weird like finger glove flesh thing. It's all very off-putting, but like intentionally so. Like it's not done in a way that is meant to be like it's meant to be disgusting and gross and violent, and in that regard it kind of succeeds. I think it adapts the source material or the inspirations at least very well. And I think it's biomes because each act takes place in like a very distinct like closed off area. I think each of those is like quite varied and visually distinct and has its own sort of like machinations and machines that move all in tune with one another. They feel like solving puzzles in this game, they're twofold. So each act is like one larger puzzle where you're moving things from like one end of the space to the other, or solving smaller puzzles to open up doors that give you access to new areas. And each of the bigger areas feels like a real Rube Goldberger machine. Like it just all clicks in, like sort of like you know the game Mousetrap, the board game, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're building everything and then when you set it off and you see everything interconnect and it's like going off. That's sort of how the puzzles work in a very slow manner. You're seeing it slowly like
come
interconnect,
together.
which is pretty neat. I think that part of it is pretty cool. And even though the ways you're solving the puzzles are pretty rudimentary, the ways that they pay off, I think are pretty rad. The puzzles themselves, especially the smaller ones, they're sort of like mini games. So you'll go to a
console,
a switchboard, for instance, and suddenly now like to activate the switch, it's like a little maze game, or it's one of those games where like you need to rotate all of the circles into a specific direction, but as you rotate one, the other two rotate as well. So you've got to like figure out the correct order to rotate them. It's sort of, and there's one other puzzle which is like that board game Traffic Jam, where you've got to move things. Things can only move like up or down or left and right, and there's only a specific number of spaces. So you've got to move things so that you can get one thing from the one end to the other end. So it's like a spatial awareness thing. So it's all like formats of puzzles that you've played before. Like you see them and you're like, cool, I know exactly how this works. It's just looks grosser. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I paused the game here. I don't know. So
I was like, what happened?
Yeah. So I don't really think those puzzles were that great because they were immediately familiar, and then they were repeated a bunch of times very quickly in succession. Like if you got to the rotating circle ones, for example, the next 2 or 3 doors that you needed to open all were just that puzzle again, just like a slightly harder version. So it just got super annoying very, very quickly. And for a game where like puzzles are pretty much 50% of what you do, if the smaller ones are annoying to do, I think it's a bit of a failure on that front to actually like engage the player like on a challenging like cranial level. So yeah, didn't enjoy that. I think the thing I super did not enjoy, I cannot emphasize enough how much I did not like this part, was combat. Like it is bad. Like
nice.
Just straight up terrible. So I wasn't aware, but I went back and looked because I was curious. But this game was marketed as not having a lot of combat. Like they were straight up saying this is not a shooter. That is a lie. I will tell you that right now, that is not true. Because from probably the end of Act 2 up until all the way to 5, you are consistently fighting enemies.
Oh, really?
to the point where you cannot avoid them. So there are a lot of instances where you will see an enemy in a larger room at a distance, and you're like, cool, if I just kite them here, I can get around them, no problem. You know, standard horror stuff, you want to actually avoid enemies more often than you want to engage them, just like a Resident Evil. Yeah. But then there are times where enemies will just spawn in hallways where there is no other way to go. Like, you need to go this way. And you will like walk towards this hallway, and one will just fucking appear there. And most of the enemies are all ranged enemies. And for a very long time in the game, you do not have a ranged weapon.
Oh, no.
You have a weapon that shoots out like a little alien mouth. Look, that's what it looks like. But it maybe does a meter of damage in front of you. On top of that, that weapon specifically, the first one, takes, I think, 4 or 5 shots to kill the base enemies, or like 2 shots to kill very small ones, 4 or 5 to kill ones that you encounter quite frequently. And you have to wait for like a seconds long cooldown, maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 seconds between every 2 shots. So it is just stupid. Painful. It's honestly, you're in this tight hallway. This guy will kill you very, very easily. He's doing range shots. You have to get right up close to him, hit him twice, then run around a circle while you're like waiting for this cooldown to expire. You also can't see the cooldown because the UI only surfaces when you aim. But when you aim, you can hardly move. So like if I aim to check how much cooldown I've got on this weapon, I'll get hit. So if I don't have enough, so I've just got to like remember, like try and figure out how long I need to wait before I can maybe take another 2 shots, then do this whole rigmarole again. That's for one enemy. Then you start getting rooms where there are like 3, 4, 5 of these guys at once. And you're like, well, I've got to avoid them. There's no way I can kill them. There's just no way. I'll just die.
Them,
So what it led to was a lot of times me just dying, which fine, game's hard, cool. But that surfaced the whole other issue I had, which is how aggressive the checkpointing is.
Oh, yeah?
So the checkpointing, I could tell later on in the game, the checkpoints were saving checkpoints after key points in a puzzle, but not all key points. So for example, at the beginning of Act 3, you have to run around a small area and find an upgrade for this like item that you have that like unlocks doors. And every time you upgrade it, you can unlock different types of doors. So I'd have to get that. I'd have to go, unlock a door, kill an enemy, continue, hit a switch to rotate a fan, come back, more enemies have spawned, kill those enemies, go back. If I died at any point there, started me at the start of the act, where I'd have to get the key thing again. And that I cannot tell you how many times that happened. Like,
Worst.
I was just, at this point, I'm like, I've played about an hour and a half of the same fucking section over and over and over again. And every time I try it, it's like almost 15, 20 minutes of just trying, like infuriating. Then you only get one autosave spot. So if the game decides to autosave and you are 1 hit away from death, you've just got to fucking deal with it. Like, the only other way you can get avoided is restarting the act. And each act is about an hour and a half long.
Ooh,
so if you are right at the end and you checkpoint and you are now in front of a hallway where an enemy is spawning, or there's a bunch of enemies that you're struggling to avoid because, hey, the smaller ones have this ridiculous range and it's almost impossible to dodge their shots at the movement speed you have.
I know.
Good luck. Like, you got to get lucky. Like, there were numerous times where I was running past enemies, hoping to God that I'd like not clip through them, but they would move in a different way and I'd just get past them, because that's the only method of progression I had. There was nothing more I could do other than lose an hour of progress. And then if you actually encounter a bug, which happened to me, I clipped through an enemy as I killed him, it auto-saved, I was stuck. Could not, I reloaded that save, was stuck, could not move. Lost an hour and a half of progress because I had to restart the entire act. Fuck that. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, how? If you're going to have a save system that restrictive, you better be super certain that something like that can't happen.
Yeah.
Because losing an hour and a half of progress in a game is not acceptable. in today's standards, it's just not. Like, it's infuriating as well when a game is 6 hours long and it has the ability to throw 25% of that out of the window just because I clipped into an enemy.
But you can't save manually either. Like, impossible.
You can't. No, you have no manual save. So you are at the whims of this autosave, like, completely. And the only saves you can reload are last checkpoint or the beginning of each act that you've completed. I had to walk away from this game multiple times. Like, Shani can attest to me sitting here and literally just like swearing, just being like, fuck this. Like, it is, you know, I've played Elden Ring. I played Elden Ring for 100 hours this year. FromSoft games are frustrating and their bosses are frustrating. And there are times that I was like, I need to just chill out with this boss. But there is a difference there because they are frustrating because I'm not understanding something. The game is not intentionally unfair.
Yeah, it's never the game being unfair. It's exactly it.
Yeah. Scorn is unfair. Scorn feels completely unbalanced when it comes to its combat. It's not. It feels like it requires a certain finesse from you that the game doesn't afford you through its mechanics. On top of that, there's only 4 weapons in the game. I somehow only got 3. So it's entirely possible for you to miss a weapon and just have a harder time of it. I can definitely see that they have designed the game around this because there is one boss in the game and it's right at the end. And he is definitely designed for you to only kill him with the first starting weapon. I could see that. But I could also not imagine how nightmarish that would be because that would probably make me quit the game. I'd be like, I'm done. Forget this shit. So yeah, there's a good chance that a lot of the struggles I had, like in Act 3, Act 4, were because the game was sort of balanced for me, balanced around the idea of having 2 weapons, which the second one I ended up finding out is a rifle, which gives me a lot more range in my attacks, which fucking hell yes, that would have helped tons.
Yeah.
And it might have changed my entire experience with the game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if that's the case, your combat can't be balanced one way or the other. It has to manage both.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a bad time. Like, listen, there are a bunch of other reviews out there that there's some that gave this game an 8 to 7, whatever. I totally get that. Like, they probably had a very different experience with the game. I spoke to people at GameSpot who had different experiences with the game. You know, that is what a game review is, but I can only talk about what I played.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, a game review is, I played a game, here's how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And this game made me feel tons of frustration to the point where I just never want to see it
That's
again.
what the developers wanted,
again.
though. Success.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
Great success.
I really do not like it, and I do not think I will be the only person who plays it and finds the same sort of flaws in it.
I think
actually Eurogamer was quite similar to my review, which was interesting to read. They had issues with the checkpointing and lost progress on save. So it's definitely not. And I looked through the patch notes because we were given the patch notes for the day 1 patch. And, you know, I had to make sure that the issue I ran into wasn't, my issue was not there. So, whatever,
well,
man.
Despite your grievances, the fact that it's a 6-hour game, I'm still kind of curious to just at least try it out.
I don't dissuade you from giving it a go. You might end up enjoying it. There was not enough there. The setting and the puzzles were not good enough that I was like, cool, I can overlook this combat. It was like the puzzles are already boring, and now this combat is straight up broken. Yeah, so
it's on Game Pass, so
it's on Game Pass. I mean, worth a look if you're
really
really keen. The aesthetic is really nice. I think it adapts super well. It's real fucking gross. It's not scary. It's billed as a horror. I do not recall one moment where I was like tense. It doesn't really have much shock value. Like after the first hour or so, you're like, okay, cool. Yeah. Every machine in here is mangling my hands. Great. Yeah.
Nice.
Whenever I press a button and I put my hand into some machine, I'm just going to expect to get like fucking destroyed a little bit and bloodied, and then I carry on. So it kind of like loses that effect pretty quickly. But yeah, it's weird, and the atmosphere is strange, and it looks pretty good. I think it looks quite nice. I really do not like the sound the guns make when they need to reload. It sounds like a wet, squishy flesh noise, and I do not like it. I'm not a fan.
I think it's probably one of the strengths of the game, though. I'm sure its sound design is real good.
Sound design's pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Just imagine being that sound team, like the brief.
Yeah, I would actually love like a behind the scenes video of how they did it, because it's always weird. Like, what was it? I think it was Mortal Kombat. They said like some of the sounds for the fatalities, they had like pieces of meat in a bucket that they were hitting with like a hammer to make that squishy, like...
I can't remember what game or movie it is, but somebody was like, yep, the sound of a snapping celery in half is pretty much the same sound as a neck snapping in half. You're like, what?
Oh, I have heard that. Yes. Yeah. Foley teams at sound teams, they found the most incredible ways to like mimic sounds like on the cheap. It's so really,
next time
really
you're
cool.
eating some cereal, just snap that bad boy in half and go, that's what
fatality.
It sounds like. So that's Scorn.
That's Scorn. Yeah, it's on Game Pass. Yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to hear if other people have thoughts on it. Yeah, if you play it and you find it
I'll get
a very different experience.
When we're out of this thick, dense review season, we are
Jesus,
now
and it's not slowing down anytime soon. I think God of War is like the last one where it kind of like slows down after that.
Yeah.
There's stuff in December. There's like Need for Speed in December as well now. There's so much stuff.
Oh God.
Anyway.
Cool. Should we talk about the Street Fighter 6 beta quickly?
Sure, yeah. I can chat a little bit about that. Did you actually play any games?
So I was so bleak with this because we got access that Thursday or Friday. So I'd queued my Street Fighter to download, and then I think I had such a busy weekend last weekend, but only on Sunday evening I actually sat down, to jump into it, only to find that that is the wrong scene. My bad.
Sunday evening, yeah, Sunday evening was done. Wasn't
only
it?
To find that so it went on till like Monday morning, but on Sunday evening my game just inexplicably hadn't finished downloading. I booted up my PlayStation. What is up with this player? Sorry.
Yeah, the Windows player is garbage.
No, but I've never had an issue with it. But now all of a sudden today, it's like, no. You cannot use this. So long story short, I never got to play on Sunday evening because my game just wasn't downloaded. Oh, look at that skin. It's the best.
It's fantastic.
So
the character created in this game is absolutely ridiculous.
It's great. So I woke up on Monday morning to catch the last hour because it ended at like 9 a.m. or something. So I played from about 8. So I didn't get too much time with it, but I did get a handful of games in. I watched more games than I played because I'm bad at Street Fighter. So I was more interested in seeing how other people play the game. And visually, this game it's the best. Absolutely love the style they've gone for. You'll see now if you're watching the video feed, just the color splashes when landing. Like you'll probably have a better understanding of how the.
I totally forgot what those moves are called, but I know
the systems. What you're talking about. But just the style of this game, it's so good.
Whoa, why is it so fast?
It's catching up to them. So if you're watching the video feed, I'm busy spectating a game. For some reason, it doesn't just put me where the fight started. It speeds up all the footage until I get to the live moment right now.
I love these. So I played a bunch with Jeff and Darren, and we were bouncing between playing and spectating. And I think the spectating mode is just so good. Like,
it's really
I don't know
good.
if this is a standard in fighting games, but the idea of you've got the hit register, you can see exactly how much damage attacks are doing, the attack types, the combo damage.
Yeah.
It's like you are getting to spectate, but you're also learning. You've got all these tools to learn as you're watching. So that's pretty cool. I do think so. You can see there that if you're watching the video feed, you've got these like little arcade cabinets in the what's it called, the battle hub? I think
it's like
called.
Just a hub. Yeah.
Yeah, and you essentially sit down at one side or the other, and you can basically say, well, I'm spectating, but I'll play next.
Mm.
I like that system because it's like a very arcade-like system.
It's very reminiscent of like original Street Fighter, where that's how you played the game. You'd put your 50-cent piece on the arcade machine and join the queue.
Yes, exactly. I do wish it was a bit more seamless though. So like when Jeff, Darren, and I were playing, like for example, Jeff would be spectating, and then I would lose. And the idea we all had in our head is, oh, it's just going to pop now Jeff straight into the queue. It's like keeping us in a rotating roster. And apparently that's how Street Fighter V worked. It was like you just had this round robin thing. But here, at least in the beta, you have to pop back to the battle hub, press that you want to play, then it loads you back in, which is a bit
it's a bit unintuitive.
It should be a bit smoother. Yeah. It definitely should be a bit smoother. But that could be just a beta thing. They could be fixing that. If I had to give one thing of feedback, it would definitely be that. Just to, I want a lot of people to come around a cabinet and then they're all within like a round robin hopper, and it just pops people in immediately.
Yeah, and even that thing of just when it keeps playing, and then people just
when it
pop
stays
in.
on top. Yeah, that would be great. Other than that, I think it's very good. I don't have enough experience with fighting games to say whether or not a netcode is good, but I could see the ping counter there, and I didn't really feel much. I never felt at a massive disadvantage. Yeah. And when I was playing with Jeff and Darren, the ping was like 30, so it's definitely connecting us directly
locally.
So
I had one experience. I can actually just scrub through the footage where I think I fought a Ryu. It's just over here. Yeah, this is only one time I fought where when there's a bit of a delay.
Quite high though.
Yeah, that ping is 500. And then
that's huge.
It's super slow. But
you can actually tell that the match almost looks slowed down. Yeah,
it gave me time to react. It was great. I still lost horribly. But other than that,
I'm trying to remember now the mechanics, because I mean both of us didn't really play Street Fighter V much. But I know Street Fighter V had stuff like V triggers and a bunch of different things to think about. This one has got 2 meters. So you've got I think it's your super meter at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I've totally forgotten what the one underneath your health is.
Yeah, there's one on top there.
Yeah. So that the one underneath your health judges like super attacks. So like Hadokens, Shoryukens, stuff like that. And also certain like blocks. And then your super meter is like, your super attacks or augmenting those attacks with more damage.
Yeah.
So to me, initially it seemed complicated.
Yeah.
But I think the meter underneath your health recharges so much while you're attacking that it's sort of like unless all you're doing is firing off Hadokens and doing nothing else, like you're probably not going to struggle with that.
Yeah.
I think the strategy comes in attacks that take more than 1 pip of that at a time. Yeah. Like you've got to be very conservative with those. I do really like again, don't remember the name, but the real graffiti looking attacks can be used to like break out of a combo. And they're pretty easy to pull off, which feels pretty nice. Oh, that reminds me, did you play with modern or classic controls?
I did not know I could choose. I probably had modern.
It hit you on modern for the first time. Yeah, it defaults you to modern. Okay. So the modern controls are neat because they are like your auto combo things. So they're great for newcomers.
Yeah.
So you can hold R2 and hit square like 3 times, and it will do a combo where it's like punch, super attack, super attack. Instead of you doing all the quarter circles required for that very quickly.
Okay.
I know Jeff struggled with the modern controls because he's like, this is so counter to what he's used to. But Darren was using them, and I started using them, and I was like, this is way easier for me to understand while I think about like what I'm trying to like learn is like when to block.
Exactly, yeah.
And when to do attacks, not the execution.
Yeah.
So as always, classic controls always give you more flexibility, and someone who's better at classic will always beat someone who's good at modern controls. But I think if you just want to have fun and you're not playing this like super seriously, modern controls are fucking great. So yeah. I had a great time with this game.
Sad I didn't put more time into it, but just the small taste I think it'll be a fun time. Like, I like this hub that you can.
I think this game's
around.
going to be a banger. I have not been this into a fighting game, I think, ever. I played with Jeff and Darren, and then I played alone. Like I was just playing like an hour or two, just like wanna play, and I was getting my ass handed to me online, and that's the point. Is just like learn. You know what I mean? So it's a good time. I really like it. I'm still figuring out who I like to play as, but I like who's the cover character? He's the one you start off with.
Is it Luke?
Luke, yeah, Luke.
Luke.
I quite like him. Yeah,
the beta never had stretchy arm guy. Had to see it.
It didn't. Yeah, it had what? Ken, Ryu, Luke, Jamie, Jury.
Yeah, there were
Guile.
8 characters. Oh, Guile is so small. This guy.
Your Guile's hair is super weird again. Like I just don't understand what's going on. This
guy's got too many muscles.
Chun-Li.
Chun-Li's there as well. Yeah.
Ken looks like a hobo, and Jeff says that's for story reasons. Apparently, couldn't tell you.
This game's gonna have a story, which I'm very keen to see.
Yeah, there's so much. Like the story mode in this game, like super entices me. Did you see that there were little other arcade cabinets in the hub where you could play like classic Capcom games?
I actually didn't.
Yeah, they were like 2D
I think
Capcom
I saw, but
games.
I was more interested in capitalizing on my limited.
There was even like Street Fighter 2 Turbo there. Like you could just play
cool.
that there. Yeah, it's pretty sick. And there were a lot of parts of that hub that were disabled as part of the beta. So going to be even more expansive. So yeah, I like it. I like that when you run around, it's like this player is on a winning streak, so you can like go to their cabinets and spectate or challenge them. Yeah,
or
it's
your
neat.
Winning streak ends now, and then you lose. Like, damn it.
It's a good time. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with the beta. I hope they host more in the lead up to the release.
I think so, because the game's coming out next year, but I mean,
they haven't said
when. So I still think there'll be a couple.
There's a lot of speculation that it'll be before the end of March, like end of fiscal year. And that kind of makes sense to me, especially if they're hosting a beta this robust now. Like before March next year seems keen.
That far away.
Yo, let's go February 2023. Let's fucking go. God. We're going to be playing. We already know that we're going to do another chili eating challenge with Jeff. Yeah, and we will die.
We'll all die.
Actually die. Yeah.
Good Lord.
It's a good time.
Cool. That's Street Fighter 6.
Street Fighter.
Beta.
Now to another online experience. If you can call it that.
This upsets me so much.
Overwatch 2. Which I have not. Can I tell you, I'm actually super keen to download this and play with you. Like, I have not played Overwatch in years.
Hot minutes. Yeah.
Years. But even with all the issues, I'm like, I could play a game with Matty while he's streaming. That sounds like fun. Matty's like, don't do it to yourself.
No, look. So it's sad because Overwatch 2 is actually it's really good. Okay, like we can sit and discuss how we don't know why it's called a sequel because it feels like it's really just a significant patch or a very big game overhaul update. Some which is not uncommon in online games. Some games reinvent themselves, change things. So it's
we were talking about CS:GO not so long ago. So.
Yeah, so calling this a sequel is just like a huge question mark. But semantics aside, it's good. Like I loved Overwatch 1 when it came out. I played it for probably most of the first year. I put a lot of time into the game, and then inexplicably, I don't know why, I just fell off. But jumping back into the sequel now, it's been really fun and it's been fun seeing a lot of my friends come back as well. People I haven't played games with for a long time because the game Overwatch 2 is free to play. We were like, let's just jump in, play some games. But I think like I touched on when I spoke about it last week, one of the more significant changes is that it's no longer a 6v6 game. They've dropped a tank from the team composition, so it's 5v5. And just removing that tank changes the whole game in a pretty significant way because it's less time players just chipping away at a shield, or a tank who just refuses to die because they're being healed. The dynamic has shifted in that the tank has a pretty important role, in helping the team push, but trying not to die, being more, I suppose, clinical with their movement and their, when they choose to push, when they choose to poke or fall back, that sort of thing. And the game just feel more, I guess, frantic as a result, or I don't know, more, maybe frantic is not the right word, but more engaging, I guess.
From this gameplay.
Maybe not that Overwatch 1 was not engaging, like, don't get me wrong, but it feels like there's just, the stakes are higher, which is really nice. Like, it feels good. And yeah, this is all complemented by the 3 new heroes. We've got, so Brigitte's not new, but I never played her in Overwatch 1. She's good fun. She's actually a healer/tank.
I remember her looking very different in 1.
I think, Overwatch 2, they've had some visual tweaks and overhauls. But yeah, there's 3 new characters, a tank, healer, and a fence. So we've got Sojourn, who, if you've not watched, she's the one who has the rapid-fire laser gun, if I can call it that, which charges up and gives you the option to fire off like a beam shot, very reminiscent of a railgun from Quake. It is good fun. Yeah, super cool. I always get her name mixed up. It's Kimiko or Kiriko, the new healer. She's also real cool. And then you've got Junker Queen, the new tank. So adding
people seem to love Junker Queen. I've seen
really cool. Yeah. So we've got these new characters, and there've been some overhauls in some of the older characters. The game feels good. Like, it genuinely feels really good. You can see now, if you're watching the footage, we're playing a new game mode where you're pushing a robot back and forth across the map. So there's a new game mode as well. The only problem, though, is that the servers have been actual garbage. Like, I spoke about it last week. Everyone knows if you tried playing this game on launch, you just couldn't. You could, but you'd have to wait a long time. Like, my bitter experience was I queued for an hour watching my friends play because they managed to get in earlier. I joined a deathmatch when I got in just to wait for their game to finish, and then I got kicked out and promptly put back to the beginning of the queue, which was the worst.
That sucks so much.
That problem's gone, though, thankfully, because you can launch the game and the servers aren't nearly as busy, or they've done something that you just get into the main menu instantly. Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Except this week, for some reason, the one evening I played, the servers were. It was a different problem, that you could get into the game, but when you try to find a match, it's like, cool, game found, error, like server error, queue again. You sat and you queued and you queued and you queued, and then when you eventually got into game, it was just unplayable. The characters were
it was all laggy and stuff.
All laggy, and it wasn't just me, because my initial thought was, it's just my ISP having a problem, or South African internet just shitting the bed. Until you have people in the all chat going like, hey, are you guys lagging as well? Like, go to Reddit, everyone's bitching about, the servers are down, competitive's down. And it's upsetting because this is Blizzard. Like, I think I feel particularly, I almost feel offended because I'm like, I championed Blizzard so hard, in those heydays when Overwatch was announced and it launched, and then Hearthstone was big, StarCraft 2 was still big, Heroes of the Storm still had a huge player base. Like, Blizzard was at its peak for me there. It was just doing magical things, and then I don't know what happened. It just feels like Blizzard isn't what they used to be, and I keep trying to home on this point. I know they're different teams, but Blizzard is the studio who runs World of Warcraft. In fact, like 99% of the games are just strictly online experiences. I mean, Hearthstone, Warcraft, StarCraft, all of these things. But then how do you botch a launch this badly? Like, I get it. Maybe you didn't expect such a response. Maybe you were DDoS twice. I don't know, but it just feels very unlike them to get something so wrong. Like, Blizzard's one of the studios you look at and you go, they do really good quality. Like, Blizzard's a peak studio. So I don't know. The only way I could explain is I feel so offended that this is the experience I got.
I think the sad reality is that Blizzard hasn't been that for a long time now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I think probably their last big, very good launch was Overwatch, the first one. And like, that came out and blew the world away. And a year later, it wasn't the same game that was capturing people in the same way, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And since then, they just haven't, like, they had Diablo 2 Resurrected, which didn't go down super well. Diablo Immortal, which didn't go down super well. The Warcraft expansions haven't been hitting really.
Yeah.
It's just the days of like, this is a Blizzard release, it's an event, are just gone.
Yeah.
They're really just not there anymore. It's a bummer.
So it is a bummer because Overwatch 2 itself is fun. Like I'll stand.
Like I said, I want to give it a go with you. I think I only played that game very briefly when it first launched, and I'm not huge into competitive online games, so I bounced off of it very hard when it started getting very, very competitive,
very sweaty.
Yeah, very, very sweaty. But yeah, other than that, I do think it would be a good time to play with friends. So
yeah, and look, all criticisms. I mean, like my biggest criticisms are just servers. I mean, I can't tell you, oh, this character's broken or this character doesn't feel right. Whatever. Like, I think the game is obviously going to keep evolving because that's the nature of these, online games. That you get balance patches and then it throws the balance out of whack, or things feel good, whatever. It'll constantly change, and the server problem, it's not going to be forever. Like, they'll fix it eventually. So yeah, like I still think Overwatch is definitely worth playing. I think just give it some time to sort all of that nonsense out. And it's on everything, just about, free to play on PC, console,
that's a good point, yeah.
Including Switch, which is surprising.
Switch is a big one, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's free to play with some questionable.
I wonder how well it works on Switch. I'd love to download it and give it a go.
I played Paladins on Switch for a little bit, and I was shocked by how bad the game looks, but how well it runs. So I wouldn't be surprised if Overwatch is a similar thing of it runs well, but it doesn't look as good, which makes complete sense. But yeah, so the free-to-play nature of the game means that there's a battle pass, and that is a whole discussion in itself of, grinding up. If you're going to go the free-to-play route, you need to grind your way through heroes, or you can pay money up front. But
are you thinking that, based on your experience, is a bit grindy, or? So
the battle pass isn't too bad, right? It's like the limited time I've actually played, the handful of hours I've managed to play in my my extra hours of frustration, I think my battle pass is level 18 or 19. To get the new heroes, I think 50 or 55 is the level to reach on the free-to-play battle pass. So it's definitely doable. If you play regularly a couple times a week, or even just once a week for a couple hours, you should be able to progress enough to unlock cool stuff through each season. But like I was telling you before we started recording, that it's quite weird that Overwatch 1 got... it's one of those games that had loot boxes, and loot boxes are very predatory, or they can be very predatory depending on how they're executed. The sentiment I've seen is people saying they miss the loot boxes, which is such a weird thing. And I think it tells you how the store has been done in this game, that it feels very, very greedy. So like I was saying,
people are missing those loot boxes. People did not like those.
No,
loot boxes.
So like, but Battle Pass is fine. I have no issue with the Battle Pass. You cough up, I think it's 150, 180 Rand. You get access to some cool cosmetics, whatever. But if you're just playing the game by default and you want to buy a legendary skin, the rate at which you earn currency in this game is so slow that you kind of like, well, might as well just put money in. Why would I grind out 2 to 3 months of weeklies plus minus when I can just pay? And I guess that's up for debate. Like, the game's free to play. They have to make money somehow. But I've played many free to play games that don't feel this predatory. So I don't know. It's a weird thing. And again, I feel offended because I used to love Blizzard. And not that I hate them. It's just like, this isn't the Blizzard I know. Overwatch 2 feels like a good game, but it's just wrapped in a poor launch and a weird cosmetic system, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
no, I get that. And, as someone who is giving Overwatch 2 a chance, that would frustrate me. Yeah, hectically. So
that said, let's play. come give it a bash.
I'm fucking down, man. I'm keen as a bean to give that a go. So, yeah.
Cool.
Sounds good.
It's Overwatch 2.
It's Overwatch 2. Should we now move on to gaming and news? Oh, games out. Fuck, sorry.
Yes, it's like you haven't done the show for
my bad
203 episodes. The format's literally not changed in 203 episodes.
Don't attack me like this.
Cool. Game releases. Good Lord. Doesn't stop.
It
Can't
does
stop,
not
won't
stop.
Where are we at? November. Oh, we're not November yet. We're still
You're
in
November.
October. What are we? October 15th to 21, I think.
Sounds right. I'm just getting there.
Oh my God, this is a long list. Nitro
Yep,
Kid.
October 15th, which is today, up until October 21st.
Nice.
My goodness. There's so many. It just keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's fly through this. Flat Eye coming to PC October 17th. Terror of I wanted to say Terror of Hermanus, but it's not that. Terror of Hermasaurus. Close enough. Listen.
Close enough.
Coming to PC October 17th. Nitro Kid. Is this Andy Cortez's game about his child? Like, what's going on here?
Nitro Alpha Kid.
Yeah. October 18th. And Burial Dreams. I don't know what the word emburial means.
Sounds like a made-up word.
I googled emburial and the first thing that came up was the game. So yeah, probably.
Made-up word.
Yeah. It's coming to Steam Early Access October 18th. Big release for the week: A Plague Tale Requiem, PC, PS5, Xbox.
Boy.
Oh, I didn't realize this was not on older consoles. Wow.
Okay. So yeah, next year.
Only new consoles and PC. Yeah, it is also coming to Game Pass.
You can preload it now. In fact, it is a 47 gigabytes download.
47, at least 45 gigs of those are just rats.
Just rats. So, rats and their physics. Rats. Yeah.
I'm very keen for this, having played the first one earlier this year. So, yeah.
Oh my God, this next game.
Them's Fighting Herds. This game has been around for a while. Why is it only out it's only out on consoles now. It's been at Evo a couple of times.
Really?
So if you're not sure, this is a fighting game and a very good one at that. Apparently, with the style of like My Little Pony.
What?
Have you not seen them?
I've not seen this.
Them's Fighting Herds. Give it a quick Google. It is phenomenal. Just phenomenal looking game, and apparently very good as a fighting game.
I love this. So. I must play this. It is literally My Little Pony. You can play as a llama.
Yep.
Look at this.
It's something, let me tell you. So yeah, that's coming to consoles and Switch on October 18th. That's pretty cool. Marvel Snap. That is the Marvel card game, nice. I think. PC, iOS, Android, October 18th. Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, finally coming to PC on October 18th, along with that tease of a new reveal of a game at the Game Awards. So that's cool. Dead Link coming to Steam Early Access on October 18th. The Last Worker coming to PC October 18th. The Last Hero of Nostalgia.
Oh, these are completely unrelated.
Nostalgia. Maybe The Last Worker and The Last Hero.
Weird coincidence that they launch on the same day.
This one's coming to Xbox though, so PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. So I assume this is a Game Pass game as well.
Yeah.
October 19th. The Valiant coming to PC, October 19th. Another big release for the week: Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection on PC. So that's Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy coming to PC. I don't think the original 3 are on PC.
Also,
if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
but weird.
So that's kind of strange.
They would give like the Nathan Drake collection a PC port.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one to have number 4. The one that like kind of wraps up Nathan's story on PC. Anyway. Okay, this is name. Warhammer 4000, Shoot Us, Blood and Teeth.
I love it.
Shoot Us, Blood and... Is it teeth as in like teeth. A really bad way to say teeth?
It's your teeth.
Because it's T-E-F. Like, is the author taking the piss here? Like, what's going on?
No idea.
It's coming to consoles... consoles and
another
Switch
big one.
and PC.
boy.
Another big one. Oh my God, this week. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So this is the sequel to that very XCOM-like game that actually, it came out the year the Switch released. It's been that long.
What?
Yeah.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
What
Game
is
was
time?
good, was received very well. Very
Got a
keen to get
sequel.
my hands on the sequel.
Nice.
Terracotta coming to PC and Switch October 20th. The Pegasus Expedition, Steam Early Access, October 20th. The Tenants coming to PC October 20th. Batora Lost Haven coming to PC and consoles October 20th. Hell is Others. Don't know what the fuck that means.
Oh, God.
Coming to PC October 20th. Another big one. Vampire Survivors goes 1.0 finally October 20th. This is your last chance to buy it at like a stupid $3, which is unbelievably cheap for such a great game.
That Vampire Battle Royale?
No. Vampire Survivors is that like sort of idle game.
Oh, sorry. The one that
Jeff is completely addicted to. Darren's addicted to.
I must grab it.
It's a good game. Very good game. Park Story coming to PC and Xbox One October 20th. Second Extinction official launch. This is the sort of like Left 4 Dead with dinosaurs thing that's been in early access for a while.
Nice.
It's also on Game Pass, so PC, Xbox
what is
One,
this
Xbox
week?
Series S. I fucking had no idea Persona 5 Royal was out this week.
Nice.
PC, PlayStation 5. It is on PlayStation 5. What are they? I'm confused by that. Xbox Series X and Switch. It is on Game Pass as well.
100% play this game on Switch if it ran well.
Yes, I think I'm pretty sure it will. This thing ran on a fucking PS3, so yeah, I think it'll be fine.
Oh yeah, you're right. I was like, what?
Yeah, no, this thing ran on PS. Oh, maybe that's why it says PS5. I think it actually doesn't have a native PS5 version. Okay, because I was like, "What? I can play it right now."
What is this week?
Talking about? That's listen. That game fucking rules. Just be comfortable with 100 hours of your life being sucked away.
Just gone.
Nice. What a great game though. Like Matty, I think you being a JRPG fan would really like it.
I need to make the time.
Oh, such good battle mechanics, such good story and social mechanics. Oh, really good.
Too good.
Another new big game, New Tales from the Borderlands, coming to PC, consoles, and Switch October 21st. And then even another one, Gotham Knights, coming to PC, PS5, Xbox Series X and S October 21st. What a fucking week, eh?
There's a lot to choose from. Holy shit.
Just like, how do you... And then it doesn't stop the week after. The week after is Bayonetta, Resident Evil DLC, story DLC, Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Good Lord.
Help. Where's that drowning meme where you just like, or that guy like sweeping water back into the ocean? That's what it feels like right now.
Love to see it.
That meme makes me laugh so much.
Goodness.
I remember a while ago, I had a friend who was working at Takealot, and during Black Friday, their systems always shit the bed. And I messaged him and I was like, how's it going? And that's the meme he sent back to me. It was just like sweeping water back into the ocean.
That's great.
I was like, yep, totally understand what you mean.
Lord.
Good time.
Should we get to gaming news?
Let's go. Yeah.
Gaming
I've lost the link.
Don't you worry, I've got the link here. So this week in gaming news, we'll headline.
What did you say we're going for? Oh yeah, Valve is making a new game.
Surprise. Valve does make games, apparently. Maybe.
Either that or they've called their new Steam Deck Neon Prime.
I mean, one
or the two. So I do like the opening here.
Head crab botherers.
In Rock Paper Shotgun's article, head crab botherers Valve registered a trademark for something called Neon Prime this week. An application filing is revealed. The application was made through United States Patent and Trademark Office. Neon Prime's trademark was listed as for computer game software, electronic game software, video game programs download via the internet. Wow, patents are so weird.
Yeah, you're going to be so specific.
So not VR or Steam Deck hardware. Interesting. So
Half-Life 3 confirmed. I wish. God, I wish.
He goes on, the author CJ Wheeler here goes on to say, Somehow I can't see this being Half-Life 3 Neon Prime. You
Damn
never
it.
know. Valve hasn't released a game since Aperture Desk Job for Steam Deck earlier this year. Before that, we got the VR spin-off of Half-Life Alyx was that in 2020 already? Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know. Some people are suggesting this could be a new IP. I highly doubt that. Valve hasn't made a new IP since Portal, so
whatever, man. Aperture Desk Job. What is this?
Well, I
didn't even know that was a thing.
That's the sort of 30-minute demo on the Steam Deck.
Okay.
It's really not that excessive. It's literally just a 30-minute demo.
Nice. Well, so I guess we'll see at some stage. I don't know. Valve makes good games when they're not making hats and just making $1 trillion off their own storefronts.
Yes.
So I'd really love to see them, dip their toes into making actual narrative games again. Actually,
yeah, it would be cool.
The last thing they made was, what is that Dota 2 card game? Oof, that was not good.
Oh, Artifact, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was called Artifact. Yeah.
Weirdly, it just didn't survive. I thought that game would have survived because it's Dota. But yeah, I guess let's wait and see what Valve has planned.
I'm keen for something new from Valve. I kind of hope it is. I mean, Neon Prime could be the code name for a new Half-Life thing. It doesn't mean it's called Neon Prime. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah, I listen. They said they're going to be doing more Half-Life stuff because Alyx really popped off. So I could see it.
I could see it too. What news do you want to pivot to? How do you follow? I suppose, speaking of VR, I'll just talk about this quickly. MetaQuest Pro announced, costs 3 PS5s. It's expensive. So
I don't understand.
Facebook has officially launched MetaQuest Pro, the more expensive sibling to the MetaQuest 2, formerly known as Oculus Quest 2, and released a full list of specs for the device. MetaQuest Pro will cost you $1,500 and will ship starting October 25th.
It's an impressive headset. There is some shit in there that is genuinely cutting edge for VR, but and I guess to an extent Meta made this very clear in their conference. This is not a consumer device. This is not meant for you can absolutely purchase it and just play games in it, but that's not what it's priced for. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed for workplace VR and workplace metaverse stuff, which again, I'm just like, if your idea is mass adoption of devices so that you can push this idea of the metaverse, surely you price it in a way that most people are going to buy it then. What workspace on earth looks at this and goes, yeah, shit, that's a deal.
You could spend $1,500 and get this.
Love it. That's exactly what I want instead of a monitor.
Oh my God. Cool. So
I don't understand who this is for. I genuinely do not understand.
It's just coming out. You can play Beat Saber with the...
In AR, which is pretty cool. So you don't need to have the whole futuristic thing. You can just see your cat staring at you while you wave your arms like a maniac.
Well,
you can spy on your neighbor watching you while you wave your arms like a maniac.
What I will say is that I'm glad. So I haven't invested in a VR device myself, not yet. I am glad that VR is clearly here to stay. I think when VR sort of reared its head a few years ago, there was some question marks on we've seen VR in the past, it didn't stick. We've got PSVR 2 around the corner, we've got this year, we've got other devices just being made, so that's cool.
I think VR is still here. I think VR has definitely solidified itself as I think the idea was people like, VR has to replace traditional gaming for it to be a success, and it's like, that's super not what it's going to do. But it's successfully complemented it, like you've said. I think it's definitely here to stay. I think PSVR 2 is going to be a banger. I'm very excited for that. So yeah, I mean, PSVR 2 launches the Half-Life Alyx. That is 100% day one purchase for a lot of people.
Lord.
And as it should be, because that game is incredible. So yeah.
What news do you want to pivot off to? What do you want to talk about? Let me stop.
This NVIDIA stuff. This is so weird. I've never in my
NVIDIA?
life seen something like this. So
what is happening?
You'll recall that NVIDIA announced 3 GPUs last month: the RTX 4090, which just launched this week, and then 2 RTX 4080s, the 16 gigabyte version and the 12 gigabyte version. Now, NVIDIA got a lot of flack after the announcement because at first it seemed like the difference was just the amount of VRAM that you're getting in the card. But when people actually got access to the full specs, the cards are not the same, like not even close. So you're getting fewer CUDA cores, you're getting a narrower memory interface, so you're getting much lower memory bandwidth overall. You're getting far fewer transistors in the card. So it's not just a memory, deficit. It's like a performance, like to the point where in NVIDIA's graphs, there were instances where the 16 gig card was outperforming the 12 gigabyte card by 30%, and yet they're both 4080s.
Yeah.
So, NVIDIA at the time were like, oh no, we still want to call this a 4080 because we believe its performance is in the 4080 class. And that is a fucking strange way to think about something. You're like, what does that mean? That's all relative. You know what I mean? So it seems like the flack didn't let up, and they have indefinitely delayed this card. As in, they put out a statement saying they are unlaunching it, which is bizarre. So the 16 gigabyte card is still coming in November. This 12 gigabyte card is just not coming. Like, maybe it will be rebranded as a 4017 release later down the line. But this thing is straight, which now makes the baseline price of a new 40 series card much higher, because this 12 gigabyte version was $900 MSRP. The 16 gigabyte is $1,200, so $300 more, or 33% more. So yeah, you cannot buy a new 40 series card for lower than $1,200 this time around, which is, I think, which was the highest price for their highest card last generation, the 3090, if I'm not mistaken. True. So, I mean, the 4090, based on reviews, seems like a phenomenal card, like so phenomenal in fact that it is actually useless to buy if you do not have like a 4K display, because it in some cases it is actually even hitting CPU limits on 4K displays. So on a 1440p one, you might not even see a difference to your game if you are already running at like games at like 120, because it's just going to hit a CPU limit, and you will actually be wasting the performance of this, locally priced,
sounds like
35,000, 40,000 rand. Yeah, it 100% makes sense now why NVIDIA priced it like this, because if they priced it any lower, the 30 series cards would just never sell. There is absolutely zero reason to purchase one. Now, if you can get a 3080 Ti for $600, $700, a third of the price of a 4090, and you've got a 1440p screen, that makes tons more sense, because you're getting the performance you need at the hardware level you have, and it costs a third of what you're paying for it's $40K for a 4090. It's ridiculous. So yeah, I would honestly, I mean, most reviewers echoed this, like Digital Foundry and whatever. They're like, be very sure that you actually need this level of performance, because there's seriously very few people in the world who require this. Aside from the people who just have a lot of money and want to be on the cutting edge just because. So I think if you've got a 3070, 3080, 3090, you're probably good. You're honestly probably good.
For a while, at least.
For a while. I think probably even until the next gen. For the next 2 years. You'll probably be playing things above 60, no problem up until then.
You could play games like Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales coming to PC never made it. What a segue. Yes, I should get paid for this.
Yes, should get paid triple.
So we played Spider-Man Remastered a couple months ago on PC. It looks so good.
Very good.
Miles Morales, arguably better looking game, just because Miles has access to
also
different abilities.
Better game in general.
Better game in general. It's a different aesthetic. It's Christmas time. Miles has
so much
to
neon
some
lighting,
super flashy abilities. It's going to look real pretty on PC.
Yeah.
So
I'm very, very keen to play this on PC. I'm also hoping now that there's been enough time between remastered and this one that they've addressed some of the issues in
I was
remastered.
thinking that as well.
Yeah, specifically just the issues with CPU performance. Like the game is like really, really CPU bound to the point where I've got a pretty decent CPU and that thing was not allowing me to run like a solid 60 even.
Yeah.
And it's the CPU. So Digital Foundry has noted that it is like there's some heavy CPU usage here. So I hope they've ironed that out a little bit.
If you want ultimate ray tracing 4K at 60 FPS, you're just going to need a casual 3080 or a AMD RX 6950. Along with an i7 what is that? 12700. 12,700.
That's a
all
huge
the Ryzen 9
CPU.
5900. But that's ultimate ray tracing. You can get by with
ultimate ray tracing. Oh, but that's at 4K as well.
That's at 4K.
Okay, yeah, okay. No, that's
crazy. Yeah, this game's coming out. I'm very keen to dabble with this on PC.
Just want to get that good bodega cat in my
Of course, look at this. It's too good.
I've realized after owning cats that bodega cat is a lie. As soon as Spider-Man starts swinging, that cat would yeet itself out of the bag.
100%. Really would. Cool.
Let's see what's next. Should we quickly chat about this Modern Warfare thing?
Yes.
So I don't know if it's actually a requirement for people here locally. Because I
think it was.
Yeah, new players to Overwatch were required, or Overwatch 2 were required to use a SMS text message verification process. That essentially meant like you needed to have a cell phone number attributed to the account you were using for, I don't know, security purposes so that you can create stupid Smurf accounts or whatever.
Yeah.
So initially it was reported that the same would be happening for Modern Warfare 2, despite the requirement being dropped for Overwatch 2 after there was a lot of flack because people were like, well, on prepaid numbers, especially in the States, they can't use the service, which is real, classism in a way. Not everyone wants to be tied to a contract, which I agree with. Like, that's kind of fucking ridiculous. So it was initially reported that this was the same for Modern Warfare 2, that it would have this entire system. It's not really true. This system has kind of always been there for Modern Warfare 2, back to like Warzone in May 2020, as Polygon notes here in this article. It also is only a requirement for PC players. So it's not the same.
No.
It's not the same, is what I'm saying. Like if you're playing Call of Duty on consoles, you don't have to worry about this. If you're playing on PC, this is something you've been dealing with for the past 2 years already. So, yeah, it is what it is.
Well, there you go.
That's all I have to say about that.
A latest Elden Ring patch suggests visual improvements and DLC maps coming. I love this. The Lands Beyond. What a strap on. So I don't know if you've looked at the patch notes. I've skimmed through them. I think the most significant thing is that they're separating how PvE and PvP weapons are balanced. How the two work, essentially. Spells and weapons and all of that will be balanced differently across the two, which is really nice because if you want to have a broken ass build in single player, I don't know why you should be punished in PvP. Like you should be able to separate the two, if that makes sense. You know this. You use the Rivers of Blood katana because it's a real good weapon. If you rocked up in PvP with that, people will shit all over you, saying, "How dare you use this weapon here in PvP?"
Yeah.
I don't know. But what's the most exciting part of this patch is that it looks like the DLC is it's there somewhere.
It's underway.
It's underway.
There are plans being cooked up. Yeah,
I think
two new maps sounds pretty much what I would expect from a DLC.
Yeah,
that sounds
quite keen to see what they have planned, because this game, chef's kiss. Really excited to play just more of it.
Oh yeah. I'd be keen to see. I mean, if this. So apparently, this patch also alludes to ray tracing. That was From Software actually said that they were doing that before the game came out. It was just a matter of when. I'm curious. I suspect this will only be on PC though. I just don't. The level of performance it is on console, I just don't see it happening.
They could maybe get away with it if you lock to 30 FPS, but why would you want to do that?
I mean, they already have a mode that locks to 30 at 4K. I also just wouldn't play it at 30.
No,
so, like, if the ray tracing's at 30, it's like, well, that's nice. I will just turn that on to look at it for a bit and be like, cute.
That's nice.
And then turn it back. Yeah, exactly. There's no way I'm compromising that smoothness just for ray tracing.
Same.
Unfortunately, game looks fucking great already, so
it really does.
Yeah.
And then last pieces of news: fans think Phil Spencer's shelf is teasing the Xbox Game Pass streaming box. This was the original article, but update: Xbox confirms old Keystone prototype.
Yeah, so as has become tradition with Phil Spencer now, he just puts shit on his shelf and people scope it out and they're like, "Oh, that's
oh my god, I can't believe this."
So yeah, the most recent was, I think it was for he was talking about like Fallout hitting a 25-year anniversary. People noticed the small little white rectangle on the top of his shelf that almost looked like a baby Xbox One. And turns out that's an old prototype for Xbox Keystone, which was essentially, for all intents and purposes, a streaming stick that you connected to a display that hooked you up to Xbox Cloud Gaming. Yeah. But in May earlier this year, as noted here by Eurogamer, Xbox confirmed it was pivoting away from the streaming box. And I think that's because they've realized they can just as easily develop apps for specific devices. They've already got a Xbox Cloud Gaming app on Samsung TVs.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's actually quite...
That makes way more sense.
Yeah, it's clever. You completely mitigate the hardware investment. You still get like the same results. So.
You just sell a controller and the controller's all Bluetooth and they hook up to the TV and that's that. So
it's too good.
Yeah.
And then last piece of news this week: John Carpenter would still like to make a Dead Space film. Acclaimed director says it would make a real great movie. Agree.
I'd be fucking keen. I'd be so keen. I mean, the director and creator of Halloween and The Thing making a Dead Space, fucking sign me up. I even if he just did a score, like if he composed the score for it, like I'd be super keen. So
see, we say this, but video game movies traditionally not good. But I'd be
also
keen to see
also true
a Dead Space movie.
I mean, Dead Space was in a way inspired by John Carpenter's The Thing, so yeah, I think it would be a good choice. Dead Space is one of those like video game movies that could actually be like really, really good because like horror games are to an extent
like many movies.
You know, they're perfectly paced for films. So you can do a lot of things beat for beat.
Yeah.
I say this, but we got a really terrible Doom film not so long ago. So, quite a long while
but
ago
I mean,
now. But
I mean, Doom, modern day Doom is not a horror game. I think those Doom
but they based
sequels,
it off of Doom 3, which was a horror game.
Yeah, Doom 3 was like a hardcore sequel, but then it's funny because they gave that quote-unquote horror game like the Doom 2016 treatment.
That movie is fucking terrible.
The game is just pathetic.
And with a really good cast. Like Dwayne Johnson, Carl Urban, Rosamund Pike, like how? How did that happen? Like,
I don't know.
It's real bad. It's got a real cool scene though where it changes to first person. It's real stupid. I love it.
It's dumb, but you're like, oh man, that's like playing a game. Wow.
Yeah. When they pull out the BFG, it's a great time. Love it.
It's good. It's too good. But yeah, so John Carpenter making a Dead Space film, I'd watch that.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. I would. Yeah. It just reminds me that the third Halloween movie is out, I think, this week. And apparently it's not good again, which fucking sucks because that reboot was so good and then they fucked it up with these two sequels.
Hate to see it. Cool.
Yeah, really depressing.
that is gaming news for this week.
That means we are moving on to gaming questions. If you want to send us a question, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on all our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat. What is on the docket today, Matt Figueroa?
Let me just pull open Instagram quickly. We have... Sorry, what is going on here? What the hell is up with my Instagram? We have a comment from one Caption Barbosa who says, why you like this? So rude. Really,
an important question.
A real important question, but one I'm not at liberty to answer. Ever.
I can tell you that I am like this because I woke up like this.
Wow. But on to actual questions. We have a couple on the docket. So let's start with at Jared Brapra on Twitter, who asks, oh, hey guys, hope you're going to be having a treat weekend. Can you guys think of any other publisher / developer bouncing back from a bad launch, not seeing that CD Projekt Red has an ambitious roadmap ahead? Cheers.
Capcom.
Who?
Capcom.
Oh, dude, Capcom. Yeah, I suppose that's...
Capcom bounced back from several disastrous launches in quick succession.
Yeah, Capcom today should not exist.
It shouldn't.
It
really shouldn't.
I think it started, was it Resident Evil 7 that kicked off that revitalization, or what was it?
Yeah, sort of. It was a bit of Monster Hunter World
as well, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it was the string of Resident Evil 6, which, for all intents and purposes, killed the series. Like, it was dead.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 5, dead. I'm trying to think of that other one. What was it? I don't know. They just made really bad bets on, like, this is the future of games, like heavy monetization, heavy live servicey, like, you know, they did like Operation Raccoon City, the multiplayer Resident Evil one.
Also
like,
big flop.
There was about 3 or 4 years, probably more, where everything Capcom put out just looked like a joke. Like, people had completely lost faith in Capcom. And then Monster Hunter World came out, banger. Like, absolutely huge game for them. First Monster Hunter to really capture, like, the Western audience. Resident Evil 7 came out. I mean, we saw that at E3.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, it's out in Jan. I was like, good luck.
Yeah, that's ludicrous.
Cool.
6 months away.
Everyone was like, oh, Resident Evil's dead. Remember the last one, blah, blah, blah. Game was a banger. Didn't sell extremely well out of the gate, but, like, huge critical reception. Then you had the Resident Evil remakes, which were massive. The continued expansion of Monster Hunter World. Now you've got, like, Street Fighter 6. Now every time Capcom announces something, you're paying attention. Like, you're looking at it going, this is going to be good. And this will happen, like, the fall and rise of them happened in the space of, like, a decade. Yeah. Which is really impressive. So... Yeah. I can't think of another big publisher that has gone through that sort of wave in recent memory.
Yeah.
I suppose EA is just kind of like declined. Yeah. Activision's definitely declined.
I think it's not quite the same, but I think it's definitely not the same. But Ubisoft often, they went through a phase where their game launches were just average and then games just got better with time.
That's still the case, I think. Yeah.
Where, like, Rainbow Six Siege, I think, is a good example. If it launched, people were like, it's okay. And then now it's one of the biggest shooters still.
It hits a stride in, like, it's like 3rd or 4th year.
Yeah.
Because they just consistently supported it. The same is happening now. I've since read up about it, but Brawlhalla, same thing. Yeah? It's become huge in the FGC.
Maybe that's why we got South African server.
Well, that's what I was told by friend of the show, Omar. Like, when I joked about it on Twitter, he's like, "No, the FGC is huge into this game now. Like,
sure,
they are like it ever since it went free to play. For Honor, I don't think is there anymore, but For Honor had like a not great launch and then peaked up again. Very, very well. Like, Ubisoft has this good knack of, like, giving their games long tails. They just need to figure out how to establish that momentum at launch. Yeah.
And I think just on a smaller scale, the other example that comes to mind is No Man's Sky. I think that's the hero story we all love to see, where because you never want to see a studio flop. Like I can't look in the eye and go like, I hope the studio burns.
No, never.
But yeah, that was a game that was hyped way too high. Launched, people just did not dig it, and look at it today. It's just year after year, big patch after big patch, and it's got a huge player base now. So good on that studio for sticking the landing.
It's a real feel good story for that studio. It's really, really cool that they managed to pull that back in the way they did.
Cool. We have a question. Where did my window go? Here we go. We have a question from good pal Gary Dunn, who asks, what's your guilty pleasure game that we won't expect you to love that isn't enjoyed as much by the vast community? A guilty pleasure game.
By the vast community.
It's a game you can play that I suppose not many people would play or expect you to play. I don't know. I feel like mine are so obvious. Like
what?
What's my? No, I mean it's not something that you wouldn't expect me to like. Like I dip my toe back into Celeste every now and then. I've played a lot of Elden Ring still. Every once in a blue moon, I go back to Dota 2 and Counter-Strike.
How dare you?
But I don't know if I only play good games. I don't play rubbish games. I don't know of any games. At least nothing comes to mind.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that, but
how dare you?
I mean, I wouldn't, but that's just me.
How dare you? Do you have any guilty pleasure games?
Trying to think of some
actually
guilty
a tough question, yeah.
Now that are like not fantastic, but I still enjoy playing them.
Trying to think.
Can't think off the top of my head, really.
No. I
dip into Splatoon whenever I can, but lately that's not been a great time because of the server issues. So that's been a bit of a depressing, habit. Yeah. I play chess a lot. So
no. Do you have
on my phone? Yeah, I play chess.com.
Do you play on chess.com? What's your rating? Do you play ranked?
Oh, it's not good. I think it's like 500. It's not great.
I don't know what a good rating is. So you could say 500, but like, whoa, 500
is quite low.
Amazing.
I think Magnus Carlsen, who's the world number one, is like, I think he's just 3,000 or over 3,000 now. It's very far because you only get like 15 points per win and you lose I think 8 per loss. So to get up to that point, I play a lot at work, and there's a couple of guys there's a guy at work who's like over 1,000. So being over 1,000 as just a standard play is like really good. Like you are already way
so
better.
So you're playing on your phone. That's cool.
Yeah,
it's an app.
It's an app on the phone. Yeah,
nice. I must get that.
Yeah, when you play more and more, you realize how much better you get so quickly. So
you learn.
Yeah.
Cool. And then we have one last question on email. Let me just find it quickly. It was actually sent earlier this week. Wait, did I answer? No, this is 3 days ago. Okay, just checking. From good pal Malesh, who says, "Good day, mates. I have a question about review embargoes. I understand why they exist. The part I don't understand is why the embargo date is also sometimes embargoed. Why would a publisher obscure the dates or time review will drop? Most recently, Arkham Knights." And he follows with an email saying, "And yes, I realized I had the game name incorrect after I hit send." He means Gotham Knights. I don't know. It's. I suppose there are reasons behind it, but
I think the reason is literally to obscure if the review date is happening like on release day.
Which
that's
is
the only reason I can think
generally
of.
a red flag.
Exactly.
Not always.
Not always. Not always. Bethesda certainly bucked that trend. But yeah, listen. The thing is now it's really easy to get around that because OpenCritic, which is like a competitor to Metacritic, they often get people anonymously divulging the date. So they almost, I can't recall the last time a big game didn't have like the accurate countdown to the review embargo on that site. And that's almost impossible to stop. Like and also it's a date, publishers are more concerned with people breaking the actual embargo than releasing when the embargo is going to drop.
Yeah. But even,
I don't know. Yeah.
But even on that, like we mentioned it earlier in the show, you reviewed Scorn, which had an embargo of midday on the day of the game's release, which is, I can't understand any strategic purpose for that other than
to hide scores.
To hide scores, yeah. I mean, it just makes no sense because by that point, people can play the game.
Would have purchased the game.
The point of reviews, well, like in the perfect world, a review should come out a few days before a game launches to give consumers, an idea of what the game is like. How did it review? Is it good or bad? Whatever. Then they can go, okay, this sounds like my jam. I'll put the money down. But yeah, it happens that some reviews are on the day of the game, which again, generally it's a red flag. Not always. I mean, I think a recent example, someone at my office, because we actually spoke about this week, weirdly enough, at the office. Somebody mentioned like Kena Bridge of Spirits was the embargo, I think it was the day of launch. And remember, when that game was coming out, we were like, it looks good, but we don't know if it is.
Gameplay.
Hasn't been any gameplay. Yeah. The reviews are dropping on the day of launch. Shit, this game's going to be bad. And pleasantly, surprisingly enough, it was really good. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you one way or the other why it's done like that. When I think it comes down to faith. Like, are the developers or are the publishers, do they have faith that the game's going to review well? And sometimes they get it wrong.
Yeah.
Because they do. I don't know if this like is common knowledge, but publishers commission like mock reviews of their games like pretty regularly. Before a game is launching, they will hire people, usually former games writers or other industry veterans, to play the game and conduct a review and submit it as if it was going to be submitted to a website, because that gives them an indication of what to expect. And maybe sometimes those are just way off because, hey, things are so subjective. And so they maybe delay the embargo and they're like, oof, we really need to hide this, because they're defending business interests at that time. And then sometimes it completely is just the opposite. And then you get Bethesda who don't give a shit. They're just like, this is our review policy. You get the game at launch.
Yeah.
I think they've loosened up on that recently, but it used to be, I know with Doom 2016, that was the first game that went according to that. They're like, reviewers are only getting this at launch. People like, huge red flag. This is like, this game is going to be shit. And it ended up being like one of the
really
best
good,
shoots of the past decades. So I don't know. It's strange. Embargoes themselves, I'm sure, as Malesh said, he's aware, is mainly just to allow everyone on fair footing and to prevent people from rushing through the game to get it out first.
Yeah.
Sometimes publishers aren't friendly enough to that. They will give you a game and be like, embargoes in 2 days. And that just creates the problem that they're trying to avoid, because people will rush because they see embargo as the be all and end all, and then they'll rush through a game and not give it a fair shake.
Yeah.
So,
because I mean, the trade off is that you're getting the numbers. You're launching your review.
Exactly.
You're dropping a review on embargo. You're going to get clicks.
As much as people say it's not important for the big sites. They can afford not to do that. Smaller sites, that is the be all and end all.
Yeah.
Especially if a big site is not going to publish. So it creates a shitty demand.
When we see it with some of our videos. I mean, the videos that we publish, if it's a game that's, if we have review for a game that launches like a day or two after the embargo, those videos do good numbers because we meet the embargo.
Huge,
Whereas if we publish stuff after the fact, we get lost like in a huge sea of content.
And then you get some cases where that isn't the case. Like you publish far enough away from the initial discourse that it gets almost like a second wind gets picked up again, but that's much harder to time. But at the same time, it's also easy enough to get lost in a sea of Like
The
Call of
launch day
Duty.
stuff, yeah.
Put it that. Call of Duty, there's no way a review of ours will do well
Mm.
because the sea of reviews for a game like that would be
it's too big.
immense. The big games, you just get lost.
Mm.
So it doesn't matter. The embargo is like inconsequential. Yeah.
Well, there we go. That is all the questions for today. Some nice variation there. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sending questions. If you'd like to send questions for next time, checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com or checkpointchat on all of our social platforms.
All of the places, yeah.
All of the places. That's been episode 203 of Checkpoint Chat.
Yeah, one of our longer ones. It's been a while.
Yeah, one of the longer ones. Yeah, we had a lot of games to talk about, and that's probably going to be a theme for the next couple of weeks.
I know.
So, yeah. As always, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate all of the support, and we will be back next week.
Mm-hmm.
Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.